I'm Anna, designer advocate at Figma, and today I'm going to show you guys some of our Figma Design and Figma Draw features that launched this year, as well as spotlight some of our AI image editing features. I'm working on a design for Earthling, a travel company's home page, and starting things out, I'd like to make some improvements to our hero image. It's okay right now, but I think it'd be pretty cool if maybe we inlaid the text into the scenery. So to start things out, you can see here we've got our text here, Hello Earthling, and our image. I'm just gonna quickly duplicate this image, and let's just call this one Image Remove Background, just to keep track of things. And as you probably guessed, I'm going to run Remove Background on it. When I pick a layer that has an image fill, you can see that this secondary toolbar pops up that shows some different image editing things I could do. So let's go ahead and pick Remove Background so that it'll remove that sky and we can isolate the mountain. Okay, now that it's run Remove Background, you can see here we've got our new image without the sky. We've got the original image behind it, and then we also have this white fill. I don't really need the original image and the white fill, so I'm just gonna go ahead and remove those. And then let's shift this up. And you can see now that hello text is hiding a little bit behind that mountain scenery, which is pretty cool. All right, next what I'm gonna do is I'd like to have the Earthling text kind of sit a little bit behind the tree line. To do that, let's go ahead and reduplicate our original image. And what I'm gonna use is a tool called Isolate. So again, when I click on a layer with an image fill, we're gonna get that secondary toolbar. And one of the options is Select Area. What this allows me to do is draw a lasso around a particular part of my image. So let's go ahead and draw that out. I'm also just gonna go ahead and fast forward to things because I would like to be very precise about tracing the tree line, so we'll skip forward to that. Okay, now that I've got that traced out, you can see here I have the option to erase, so I can choose to erase part of my image or to isolate. In this case, I'm gonna go ahead and pick Isolate because I want to separate that tree line out from the rest of my image. Now that it's done that, you can see here we have now an image group, and in that is our original image and our new isolated object. Let's just go ahead, ungroup that, delete that original image, and then let's shift this object up to the front. And you can see here now it's overlapping on top of that Earthling text. So I'm gonna move this over. Yeah, let's have that a bit covered by the tree line. The text now is also a little bit low contrast, so let's just go in and update the fill colors just so that it's easier to read. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Besides having this image with this interesting text inlaid to the scenery, I also have a pre-made prototype of a parallax effect that I created with this. So if you check this out, you can get some pretty cool effects where you've got different layers coming in at different paces. You can do this by positioning the start point further out from the end point to make objects move faster. And yeah, it's a pretty neat thing that you can add to your hero. All right, so we've got a hero image done. Let's take a look at the navigation. So right now the navigation doesn't have a fill, it's transparent, and this is gonna be a bit of a challenge when we're scrolling down. So to make that a bit easier to contrast, I wanna show a cool effect that we added this year, which is glass effect. And this is going to give it a glassy appearance. You can change a bunch of different things about it, like the lighting, how bright it is, refraction, depth, dispersion. In this case, I want to add a bit of frosting for a bit more contrast, and maybe some more dispersion could be pretty cool too. In order to actually test what this looks like, I need to first set my design to clip content. In order to scroll, you have to have the content go beyond the bounds of the frame. Then let's go into prototype and let's set the scroll behavior to vertical. Let's make sure that our navigation is in the front so we don't have any overlapping. And we'll set this to sticky, so stop at the top edge. And let's see what that looks like. Okay, so scrolling down, you can see it's a pretty cool effect when it's going over the elements. And it's a pretty decent contrast here. So I am pretty happy with what that looks like. Okay, we're done with the top section. Let's unclip content so I can see the rest of my design. And going down to this vacation destinations, you can see here, we've got a grid set up. And this is a way where you can have different images and text all put in a grid. You can set different widths and heights, but by using a grid, things are able to generally have a pretty consistent layout. To the right here, I have some additional content that I want to put in. So I'm just going to drag and drop. You can see it's snapping to the grid. The image I want to span 2 rows and columns, so I'm going to resize that. And let's also drag and drop this text in here. But the one issue I have with this image is it doesn't quite fill the full space. And what you'll notice is that when I click on this image here, we've got some different options showing up in terms of cropping. But what I could also do is if we go to more, you can see there's this expand option. So when I click on that, what it's going to do is we're going to use AI to essentially expand that image to fill up the space. This is really nice for me because, maybe we actually don't have any pictures of this same scenery with different aspect ratios. So this is going to allow me to still keep my grid consistent in terms of like our image fills, while still being able to use that same imagery that we have in our brand assets. So that looks pretty good. And another thing that we introduced with grid is the ability to also have hug. So in terms of width, I'm good with having it fill up the space. This is going to allow me to have, my content dynamically resizing based on which kind of like device there is. But I can also set hug for vertical. So if I want to keep adding, maybe let's just duplicate this row, keep adding more content. You can see we're adding another row to our grid. Things are responsively resizing, and it makes it a lot easier for me as a designer if I need to make any updates to the content to do that. Moving down to the next section, we've got featured trip. We've got this Morocco one, and now I want to replace it with this new content here. So let's copy, paste it in to our desktop. Let's bring it up to where it needs to go. To the right, we've got this vector that someone from our brand team created. And what I'm going to do is, in order to take that similar style and create a Venice boat, is I'm going to make edits to an image. So first, I'm going to just take a quick screenshot of this vector, paste it in, and now down here, I'm going to pick edit with prompt. And I'm just going to say, make this an illustration of a Venice boat. Keep the brush stroke illustration style the same. You can also see here, I can pick between different models, and if there's any additional imagery that I want to reference, I can also attach them as well. In this case though, I'm good with just referencing this one. And let's go ahead and edit that image. Okay, it's generated an image. It looks pretty good to me. If there's any other changes I wanted to make, I can always describe additional changes, details that I want it to do. But for now, I'm pretty happy with this. And one other thing is that this image has a white background. So let's go ahead, quickly run remove background on it. And now I'm gonna just drag and drop it in. And let's absolute position this so we can ignore that auto layout that we've got and kind of make this like overlap into this section. All right, that looks good. Moving on to trending guides. So this is actually supposed to be a carousel. So I'd like to just add more content here. You can see in our current trending guides, we've got a auto layout layer with some different components for our cards. And what I can do is I can use this little duplicate with new content AI action. So when I drag out my auto layout frame, it's going to add more content that I can put in here. So it looks like it's proposed I can do Kyoto and Milford Sound. Okay, so let me go in and edit the text here to match that. So this is Kyoto. Let's maybe adjust the sizing of these. Let's set that to like a fixed width. Let's go ahead and also, not that I encourage it, but let's detach this component so I can resize this text layer here and adjust the spacing. Okay. Now, I also need to update the images here to actually match with these new locations that we've got. So again, I'm gonna go in here, click on this image, and besides using that secondary image toolbar that pops up, I can also use Command / or Command K to access quick actions where I can search for the thing that I'm trying to do. So I'm gonna pick this edit image with prompt, and I'm gonna say, make this an image of a Kyoto landmark. Keep the soft cinematic photography style the same. And we'll go ahead and run that. All right, it's generated an image that looks pretty good. And I can follow the same exact process for the other two, but for now, let's keep moving on. Last thing I want to show is we've got this big Earthling logo at the bottom, and I showed glass effect, but there's some other pretty cool effects that we introduced this year, such as we've got background blur, noise, and texture. In this case, I want to use texture, and I want to kind of give it a pretty cool sort of like blurry, fuzzy effect here, just by adjusting the size and the radius, and that is looking pretty good. All right, so to summarize, I showed using the glass effect on our navigation. I used remove background and isolate image in order to create that cool sort of text juxtaposing inside the landscape and creating that cool parallax. Then we used grid for having different images and text content, and I also used expand image in order to be able to have this waterfall fill in the space of the grid it needs to occupy. Then I used the generate and edit image feature so that I could reference an existing illustration and create a new one that matches this new destination. I used our auto layout AI feature in order to add more trending guides, and then once again image editing in order to create a new, inline soft cinematic photo that represents Kyoto. And then I used our texture effect in order to add a cool effect to our footer logo. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and that you get a chance to try out these relatively new features, and happy designing.